Hello, who's your fans, who's your haters, and everyone in between. This is the Crimson Coliseum podcast. And on today's episode, we're going over the power rankings as well as predictions a little bit later on in a different. So today I'm going to be doing power rankings and predictions. So honestly, let's just get right into it. Not much has changed out of the bottom three. Purdue basically regained their spot closer to UCLA after their close game against Illinois. 49 to 50, but they're 14th in offense at 340 yards and last in defense in 456.7 yards allowed. But this week they're facing against number two Oregon, which it's at home, and Pac-12, the teams from the Pac-12 have not, I don't think they have won a game in Big Ten territory. So a game is tomorrow, so good luck to them. That's all I'll say there. Number 17 is still UCLA. They're 1-5, 0-4 in conference play. And then Purdue's also 1-5, 0-3 in conference play. UCLA is last in offense at 272.8 yards and 15th in defense at 358.4 yards. Last week they lost against Minnesota at home 17 to 21. And this week they're going to Rutgers. They could have beaten Minnesota if they were able to get that last drive going the way they wanted to, but Minnesota has been fantastic closing games, so I'm not shocked they lost. It's been the past couple of weeks where Minnesota has been able to close out games really well. At number 16 is still Maryland, seventh in offense at 435.3 yards and 16th in defense at 364.7 yards. Last week they had an embarrassing loss to Northwestern, 10 to 37. And this week they're hosting USC. And they're gonna have some leeway with USC coming into town, but they're getting closer to that cellar with Purdue and UCLA. At number 15, going down a spot, is Michigan State. 3-3, 1-2 in conference play. Maryland's 3-3, 0-3 in conference play. Um, Michigan had a bye last week, so the yards are the same. So 13th in offense at 349.8 yards and 10th in defense at 300.4 yards. But this week they're hosting Iowa. Important game against Iowa. If they want to be able to get to a bowl game, they got to win this one. But it's going to be very hard because I'm very high on Iowa. And number 14 is Northwestern, 3-3, 1-2 in conference play. 17th in offense at 299 and a half yards and 13th in defense at 348.7 yards. They were to beat Maryland on the road 37 to 10, and they're hosting Wisconsin this week. And after that Indiana game, I've been a little bit higher on Northwestern than most people. We'll see what happens. If they can beat Wisconsin, I might move them up to bowl contenders, but right now there's not many games I think they can win. So we'll see. Staying the same from last week is Minnesota, 4-3, 2-2 in conference play after the 21-17 win over UCLA. 15th in offense at 318.9 yards and third in defense at 262.3 yards. Another strong finish. Gotta hope they play better the first three quarters though, because yeah, if they can keep winning, they might be able to move up. But right now, their chances where they're at. At number 12, also staying the same, is Rutgers. 11th in offense at 374.5 and 17th in defense at 369.8. They're 4-2, 1-2 in conference play, but are on a two-game losing streak after losing against Wisconsin 7 to 42. And this week they're at home against UCLA, so hopefully they can get back in the win column here. They had a relatively easy schedule, and right now they're struggling. So hopefully they can get back on track, and we'll see. At number 11, going down a spot from last week, is Washington. 4-3, 2-2 in conference play from 10th. Fifth in offense at 452.7 yards and fifth in defense at 266.3 yards. But they lost at Iowa 16 to 40. This week they're on a bye. Um, just another failed road test. And it's not going to get easier because they're going to Indiana after their bye week. So it's just a question of how well are they actually on the road, like compared to the road and home. And yeah, they played Michigan and Iowa, but outside of being in the comforts of Seattle, Washington, they really have been struggling. At number 10, swapping with Washington is Wisconsin. 4-2, 2-1 in conference play. Eighth in offense at 414.5 yards. Eighth in defense at 310.4 yards. Last week they had a dominant win over Rutgers, 42-7. And this week they're at Northwestern. If they can keep this momentum up, win the next couple games, I think they can get into both bowl favorites. And just with a rule, anyone gets 6 win goes into bowl favorites, so they're only 2 wins away. And they're one of a few teams because there's a lot of teams that are in a there's 12 teams right now that have 4 wins or more in the Big Ten. So those spots are going to get dried up quickly. So we'll see. And then at number 9 is Nebraska, 4-1, 1-1 in conference play. They're staying the same for number 9 after a bye. 10th in offense at 381.4 yards and 6th in defense at 272.5 yards. And this week they're at Indiana. And you'll see my thoughts on this game tomorrow. But it's a very important week for Nebraska. Indiana's been very, very good. They're 16th in the country, and they haven't had the best cup previous weeks, struggling against Rutgers and struggling at Purdue in the first half. But we'll see. Going into bowl favorites, at number 8 is still USC. 3-3, 1-3 in conference play. Sixth in offense at 436.8 yards, and fifth in defense at 349.8 yards. Last week they lost against Penn State, number fourth ranked team, 33-30 at home. And this week they're at Maryland, and it's another disappointing game that they could have won. Only reason they're still at bowl favorites because I still think they are good enough to get those 6 wins easily. And that's the difference between bowl favorites and not bowl favorites is can they get to 6 wins easily? Who is easier? Between USC and Nebraska, I think USC has the better talent that they can do it. But they got to show it against Maryland because that's going to be if they lose that one, they're dropping hard. They're going to be falling. At number 7 is the first ranked team, number 24, Michigan. 4-2, 2-1 in conference play. Down one from 6 just because one team moved up. 16th in offense at 306.3 yards. 11th in defense at 336.2 yards. They had a bye last week, and this week they're at number 22, Illinois. And yeah, it's a massive game. Just flat out. If they want to be able to gain that high bowl contending status, because I don't know if the college football playoffs uh in their sights now, but if they want to get to 8, 9 wins, they got to win this one. Speaking of Illinois, 5-1, 2-1 in conference play. The Fighting Illini are there, number 22 at 6. Down one, ninth in offense at 382 yards, 11th in defense at 346 yards, and they barely beat Purdue 50-49. And this week they're playing Michigan. The only reason why I didn't drop Illinois further is because they're playing Michigan now. And if they lose, I'll drop them down. I'll drop them down to 7. But blowing 2 double-digit leads in the second half against Purdue at home is embarrassing. If they would have lost, they would have dropping hard. And I know they would be still 4-2, but they'd be dropping hard. That's just the way it would not be pretty. Like they got like that linebacker. Like I was watching like someone react to the play. Like the linebacker faked going with the running back, and if that freshman quarterback has just a second more time to get to the running back, that's a win for Purdue. So they're lucky. At number 5, jumping up 2 spots, is Iowa. 12th in offense at 357.5 yards and ninth in defense at 316 yards. They beat Washington 40-16 at home, and this week they're at Michigan State. And the reason why I moved them up 2 is just because of how badly they beat Washington. 40-16 is a fantastic win at home, and now they're going to Michigan State. So East Lansing is going to be raucous, I think. But they got to keep it up. At number 4 is number 16, Indiana. 6-0, 3-0 conference play still after a bye. The top offense at 515.7 yards and the second best defense at 255.7 yards. And then a bye, then they're facing Nebraska this week. And Nebraska's the best team they face up to this point. You'll see my thoughts on that tomorrow. But we'll see how Indiana does. It's going to be a sold out crowd. Hopefully, it's more Indiana fans than it is Nebraska. It's homecoming. It's homecoming, and I'm going to be very, very excited for that. I'll be there. And what does Indiana need to do to get to playoff contending? I think they need to be undefeated past Michigan. I think do Ohio State 10-0 to be a playoff contender. That's where I think that's where it's got to be right now. And going into playoff contenders, staying the same at number 3 is Penn State. Well, no, going down one. Never mind. Going down one from 3 is number 3, Penn State. 6-0, 3-0 conference play after a win against USC 33-30. Third best offense, 471.2. Fourth best defense, 262.5. And this week they have a bye. And the only reason why they didn't improve is because that wasn't a good game against USC. And yes, they won, but they didn't win well. And I know it was on the road, but they should have had an easier time dispatching USC than they did. And number 2 is Ohio State, going down one from being the top team. Second in offense at 503 yards. Top defense at 251.3 yards. 5-1, 2-1 in conference play with a loss against Oregon on the road, 31-32. And this week they have a bye. This week they had a bye. And also another reason why they didn't drop to 3 is Ohio State was in a prime condition to win that game. They had the ball, I think, within the 30, and they're on their own 30. And it was just an offensive pass interference that knocked him out of field goal range, and that was it. And then at number 1 is Oregon, 6-0, 3-0 conference play. They move up 2 spots from number 3, the fourth best offense at 464.8 yards, and the seventh best defense at 297.3 yards. And previous week they beat Ohio State 31-32. This week they're facing Purdue on the road, and that's the best win of the season. But if they would have lost, I would keep them at 3. I wouldn't drop them further than 3. But they shot themselves in the foot so many times that they're lucky to win that game with the unsportsmanlike conduct, the multiple missed extra points that put them in a situation where they needed to win. They needed that. They could have been up 3. They could have won by like 6 and forced Ohio State to go for a touchdown. Like that, they could have easily put themselves in a much better situation. Well, no, get them by 3, have the lead be 3, and like Ohio State needed a touchdown to win instead of a field goal to win. Like they could have been in a better situation that they put themselves into. But it was a really good win, and right now they're going to be number 1 until they lose. That's what this top spot's going to be. And right now they've locked themselves into the Big Ten championship game if they can win out. But that's going to be it for this episode. I'm going to be recording the predictions episode right after this. So that's going to be all. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, share on all platforms, and ask yourself, what did I get really wrong here?